What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for a SmackDown review for November the 6th, 2020. We are on our way to Survivor Series, the best of the best. 2 men qualifying matches, 1 women's qualifying match. The Rey Mysterio, Dominic, Leah, Murphy, Seth Rollins feud goes to a different turn. Sasha Banks and Bayley open the show. And Kevin Owens takes on Jey Uso because of things that happened earlier in the show. Roman Reigns making sure Jey Uso falls in line and stays in line, and everything has to go through Roman. Jey is not his own man anymore. If Roman says jump, you say how high. That is the fate of Jey Uso now. So we get this match, Bayley versus Sasha Banks, and I'm sitting here thinking, I even tweeted it out, please don't let the curse continue. One of the biggest things that Sasha Banks' her storyline has been, she is cursed on the main roster. 5-time women's champion on Monday Night Raw. Never defended the belt once. Won it back, won it from Charlotte, lost it to Charlotte. Won it back from Charlotte, lost it to Charlotte. Remember 2016 when those two women flip-flopped the championship over and over and over until, of course, Charlotte had the winning end, came out on the winning side, and Sasha Banks went on to do other things. Now, this feud has been going on all the way back to NXT. The greatest match in WWE history for the women. Sorry, it is. It's the greatest match in WWE history for the women. Bayley and Sasha Banks at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. NXT TakeOver Respect, they had a damn good Iron Woman match, even though it did not, because it was an Iron Woman match, it's hard to compare a singles match to an Iron Woman or Iron Man match, just because, yes, unless you go like an hour-long draw or something, it is kind of hard because it's 2 different stipulations and the matches are done differently, but yes, Bayley and Sasha Banks still best women's matches they've had in history. But Sasha Banks lost the championship to her, came up with Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Bayley stayed down. Then a couple months later, 7 months, 8 months later, Bayley was brought up as her mystery partner in a tag team match. Then after SummerSlam that year, she made her debut on Raw. And WWE, for the longest time, did not know what to do with these two. Friends, enemies, friends, enemies, friends, enemies, start, stop. Now, WrestlingInc.com's Twitter account put out that they feel that this feud has been, these two women, their feud has been better than Trish and Lita's. Talent-wise, yes. Trish and Lita were talented, but these women are at a whole new level. Just because the talent in women's wrestling today is far superior than what they had back in the early 2000s. Storyline, yes. Personal, yes. Because they came up together. They pretty much came up together, and they were best friends for a good long while. The best friend backstage. The two of the 4 horsewomen. Lita and Trish Stratus have they were a rivalry from pretty much the get-go. I mean, yes, I think there was a point in 2002 or 2003 where they did have an alliance a little bit. And yes, I know they're best friends now, but at the time, and they were probably best friends back in the day, but it wasn't as forthcoming as this is. This has been storyline. In real life, they are best friends, and they have been best friends forever, it seems like. But where I disagree with them is the consistency of telling these stories, because WWE, like Lita and Trish Stratus, always had it at each other. They were at each other's throats, most, if not all the time. They wanted to tear each other apart. They wanted to be the best. WWE did not, there were so many times where it's like, Bayley and Sasha Banks, are they going to feud? Are they going to hug? Are they going to rip each other's throats out? Are they going to kiss? What are they going to do? It's so many times we've wanted this feud to happen for at least 3-4 years. And then I believe it was last year or the year, it was the year Kurt Angle was GM of Monday Night Raw. When you had that Bayley, the tease that Bayley's first time heel turn, beats the hell out of Sasha Banks, says she ain't shit without her, and then goes to the back, and what does Kurt Angle do? Oh, instead of putting you in a match, we're going to put you in therapy. Then we got them going to therapy, And then the next thing you know, Sasha's telling Bayley that she loves her. And always has. And then it just went downhill from there. It killed all of that. Then Sasha Banks, then the whole tag team championship thing happened, where they won the titles last year at the Elimination Chamber, held them to WrestleMania. The Moronics won the titles, which killed those championships for everybody. And then Sasha Banks disappeared. Sasha Banks went away. People can have, like, she pretty much came out and said, I was burned out, which I could totally agree with. I can totally see. But she came back, blue hair, new attitude, back to being the heel Sasha Banks. Not NXT heel, but a heel Sasha Banks as it was. Then Bayley aligned with her. Bayley cut her hair, slashed open her Bayley, sliced her Bayley buddies down, which still love that reaction of that one kid. That one kid who, like, the dad or mom or somebody recorded them crying as she was destroying her Bayley buddies, which I fucking loved. I still love that. That was great. Bayley won the SmackDown Women's Championship not once but twice. Of course, she held it for over a year. Sasha Banks and her were best friends for a majority of this year, going into last year. Won the tag team titles from, I believe it was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross? Or was it? It was Kairi Sane and Asuka. That's right, Kairi Sane and Asuka. But then Sasha Banks won the Raw title. They go into SummerSlam. She loses it again. So, yeah, she loses it for the 5th time within a month after a bullshit way she won it. And then they lose the tag team titles to the most unlikely team who see in the beginning more chemistry day by day or week by week. And then, of course, Bayley turned on her, tried to end her career in kayfabe, and then at Hell in a Cell, Sasha Banks finally became the latest Grand Slam champion in WWE's history for the women. Only other person is, of course, the only other ones are, of course, Asuka and Bayley. Bayley did it first, but Asuka was second. So then she wanted a Hell in a Cell, and Bayley wanted the rematch because she felt that she had to sign that contract under duress. She got the match, and it was tonight. And lo and behold, these two give you this show started on fire just with this. And I love to see this when we come out with a hot match. It is so many times we watch Raw, we watch SmackDown, that they start the show off, somebody comes down in the ring holding a microphone or grabbing a microphone, they cut a 10-15 minute promo, the same garbage we hear week in and week out, somebody comes down, they interrupt them, another person might come down, and we have ourselves a tag team, a 6-man tag team, a singles match, and that is either going to be the match we're going to have next or that's going to be your main event. Thankfully, that's not what happened. We had this barn burner of the match. And you're just sitting there watching if you're a Sasha Banks fan, if you're a Bayley fan, if you're just somebody who wants to see Sasha Banks' curse broken. This was just great. These two women, and honestly, I think that Bayley deserves, and Sasha Banks too, they deserve a month vacation. These two women, I know they're not going to do that, and they can't do that, for the simple fact is if you don't have Bayley and Sasha Banks on this show goes downhill. Because until Roman came back and Alexa Bliss was corrupted by the Fiend, they were all SmackDown had. The only thing on SmackDown that fucking mattered was Bayley and Sasha Banks. Then the Fiend and Alexa thing happened. It was around till they had the draft. Then Roman came back. We'll talk about that later because my God, is this the Roman Reigns we've been needing for years? Man, I have to talk about that later. But Sasha Banks comes in. She poses on the apron. They get into the ring. She's going, and Bayley comes in. They go, Sasha Banks wants to get into the fight, but, they got to do the introductions. And these two women just beat the hell out of each other. Wow. This was one hell of a match. And let's see. Bayley brings Banks back into the close 2 count. Bayley dominates now as the fake fans boo her. Bayley stomps in the corner and catapults her, which this was interesting. So Bayley's laying on the apron, on the outside. Sasha Banks is standing on the apron as well. She goes to run and do maybe an elbow drop onto Bayley. Bayley kicks her feet into Sasha Banks, pushing her up, and she falls, and it seems like her head hits the side of the apron down. I'm like, holy shit, what the hell was that? That looked brutal. But that was not even close to the end of the match. Banks with a top rope meteor. They both land hard, and the referee checks on them when they're laid out. More back and forth now. Banks ends up hitting a big crossbody to the floor, which this was a little bit later. She runs at, it's like Bayley was on the outside. She's just turning around when Sasha Banks comes off with the crossbody, and quite clearly it looked to me that Bayley was not ready to catch Sasha. And and she did everything she could to adjust so when Sasha Banks came over, she didn't get injured or Sasha didn't get injured. It just that looked pretty bad. I ain't gonna lie, that looked pretty bad. Go to commercial break. Bayley launches Sasha Banks into the announce table after Sasha Banks tries for a powerbomb on the outside. Gets her back in. Bayley is hanging off the apron here in a little bit. Halfway off the body, leaning forward. Banks runs off the steps and leaps and hits dropping an elbow over Bayley's neck and hanging her off the apron. Banks brings her back in and hits a big frog splash, but Bayley kicks out at 2. Banks cannot believe it. Now, if I can get this thing to run, we get to the end of the match, pretty much. We're close to the end of the match. Bayley grabs a kendo stick. She puts it in the ring so the referee to distract. Then she gets the chair. The chair, which by the way, if anyone hasn't realized it yet, there's a Dick and Balls sprayed painted on the back of the chair. The chair that crushed this friendship, that almost crushed Sasha Banks' throat. It was the chair that made Bayley's tap. It is the chair that has a big X in white on it. It is Bayley goes to swack Sasha Banks. Banks kicks it away. Takes that chair and chucks it over the barricade. Bayley hits a backstabber into the Bayley belly, but Sasha Banks kicks out. Bayley goes right into the Banks statement. Goes into a Banks statement. Banks gets to the bottom rope, but Bayley turns it into a 2 count. Banks gets to the bottom rope to break it. Banks turns it into a 2 count. They get on the apron. Bayley charges Banks. Banks moves, and Bayley hits ring post shoulder first and goes down. Banks kicks Bayley in the face, hits a backstabber, rocks in the Banks statement, and Bayley has no choice but to tap out. And Sasha Banks, finally, the curse is broken. And Sasha Banks is still your SmackDown Women's Champion. After the match, the music hits. Banks takes her title and stands raising it in the air. Sees some replay. She's celebrating as she exits with the title, taunting Bayley, who's still in the ring. Banks is standing on the stage, and everyone should already know this, that if you're a babyface and you're standing on the stage after a big match, if you won a championship or you lost, that everyone should see this coming after what happened back in 2017, 16 with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa? Was it 2017 or 18? When Johnny Gargano just lost that great match against Andrade, he's sitting on the stage, and bam, crutch to the back. It seems like, and also when Tommaso Ciampa turned heel on him. But she's standing up there, she's celebrating, we don't see anything behind her. She turns around into a super kick by Carmella, who then hits the X Factor on her to lay her out. And I'm thinking to myself, fuck. We're going to have a Carmella-Sasha Banks feud. I have no desire to see this match. Carmella was an awful women's champion before. Carmella would be an awful... Sasha Banks will do everything she can to make Carmella look good. She is just that fucking good. But in my opinion, Carmella has no business, and she just made her return. Why is she getting a title shot? Why is she even in the running for a title shot? That's my question. This is just typical WWE, and it's WWE's blonde syndrome. You gotta get the hot blonde title shot. So yeah, that's what we're gonna see. They also hyped Seth Rollins versus Otis and Rey Mysterio versus Corbin for tonight's Survivor Series qualifiers for the men's team. That would leave one spot open for next week. Jey is backstage preparing an interview with a cup of coffee in his hand when Kevin Owens walks up. He jokes about Jey getting Roman's coffee. Isn't that supposed to be Paul Heyman's job? Jey takes offense to this, thinking, "Oh, what are you making jokes about?" He asks if you think my family's a joke. He says he doesn't think any of this is a joke. He came over because they're partners at Survivor Series, and Owens doesn't have much success at that event, and he's hoping they can change that. Owens says, but clearly Jey has other stuff on his mind, and he will leave Jey be. He jokes about the coffee again, stating maybe he should switch to decaf, then walks off, and we go to commercial break. Back for break, and the announcers are now hyped the Undertaker's 30-year anniversary and his final farewell. We're going to put that in parentheses, final farewell at Survivor Series. This is WWE, and I know we had the Boneyard match. I know we had the Undertaker's Last Ride documentary, but this is WWE. They're not going to let the Undertaker retire ever. He's going to have to be 6 feet under, and still Vince McMahon will try to book him in a fucking match. Who's going to come out and who's going to attack The Undertaker, setting up a match at WrestleMania next year? It's going to fucking happen. It's absolutely going to fucking happen. Is it going to be Brock Lesnar? Is it going to be Triple H? Is it going to be The Miz, Morrison, Corbin? I mean, I could totally see Corbin, who could gloat about being the guy to retire Kurt Angle, but by beating Kurt Angle, I totally see that happening. But this is what WWE is going to do, and it's fucking stupid. Absolutely stupid. Back for breaking, the announcers... Oh, I'm sorry, we already got that one. The announcers show us what happened with Carmella. She attacked SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks a few minutes ago, and then... Of course, Corey Graves like, hey, Corey, what do you think about that? And he's like, what do you think I think about that? I think this is fantastic. I mean, it's her boyfriend. Come the fuck on, Cole. Kayla Braxton is backstage with Jey Uso for an interview. She asks to talk about what happened last week. We go to the video package of everything that happened last week, especially the I Quit match. The video shows Jey and Roman's emotional in-ring meeting and the start of last week's show, and Uso defeating Daniel Bryan in a Survivor Series qualifying match for the main event, and then Jey's turn on Bryan. Uso says it wasn't personal. Bryan isn't blood, and family is personal. She says, yeah, family's thicker than blood unless you don't fall in line and you're out of the family. That's what Roman Reigns said, isn't it? And he's like, oh, you're making jokes. Everyone's got jokes with my family. And all of a sudden, in comes Paul Heyman. He's like, hi, how are you? I'm fine. Now, may I ask, did Roman Reigns approve of this? That's a rhetorical question. No, he did not. So... He pretty much said this interview is over, and he goes over to, talks to Jey and says, Roman's going to want to talk to you. So, Kayla decides to make one last joke and saying, well, it looks like Paul Heyman has a higher ranking in this family than you. Which, of course, he takes offense to that. Now, Rey Mysterio is backstage on the phone trying to get a hold of his daughter. Dominic walks up and tells his dad this match is up next and he's not dressed to wrestle. Rey's trying to get in touch with her. Mysterio is having no luck. Dominic says he hasn't seen his sister today either. Tells his dad that he's due up in the ring. Rey tells Dominic to go get his gear. Dominic walks off and Corbin suddenly attacks Rey from behind and takes him out. Corbin runs away as Dominic comes back and they check on his dad and we go to commercial break. And I'm thinking to myself here, it's like, yeah, I know you want to play Rey Mysterio is really starting to become the dad, a dad. Like, he's adopting more of a dad type role in WWE. And it's like, yeah, I know you want to see she's safe and everything, but she's 19 years old. She can make her own decisions, and if she wants to go and have a fun time with Murphy, you just gotta accept it. I know it's gonna be hard to accept, but you just gotta accept it. I want this storyline over so goddamn badly. I would sit here and pledge allegiance to whoever the fuck they want me to if I could get this damn thing over with. I would rather stand in a street getting hit by a semi-truck than watch this fucking feud. I would rather get myself bit by a python than listen to this fucking feud. I would rather get I'd rather get run over by the Big Show and watch the Big Show win the world title and hold it for a year than have this fucking feud go on. Get this motherfucking feud over right now. So back from break, and Jey Uso and Paul Heyman outside Roman Reigns' locker room. Heyman says he really respects what Uso is trying to do, but if he's going to do something like that, he needs to run it by Reigns first. He's like, just for me to do an interview, I have to get approval from my cousin? Right? Heyman's like, I'm glad you understand. He's like, well, let's go talk to the big guy. Heyman's like, just wait out here and I'll go get Roman. Heyman tells Jey to stay here. It takes about 2 minutes or so. Heyman walks out with Roman. Uso comes back out and asks Uso why he's talking to Caleb and try to tell his story or something. Uso said he was just giving an interview. Reigns says there's a chain of command. Uso has to come to him first, and if he can't find him, go to Heyman next. Reigns asks what's going on with Kevin Owens. Uso says don't worry about that fool. He's just making some bad jokes. Reigns says it sounds like jokes. Really? Sounds like he was disrespecting him, which means he was disrespecting me, which means he was disrespecting the entire family. Are you going to let this guy you're just going to let that slide? Uso says, nah, man, I'm going to handle it. Walks off. Reigns asks Heyman if he knew about this. Heyman says he kind of found out when it was as it was happening. Reigns says Heyman is supposed to know everything, that's why he's here. So he can handle everything, so Reigns doesn't have to. Heyman says, I understand, after thinking about it. Reigns tells Heyman to go find Adam Pearce so he can handle this KO problem tonight. And Heyman walks off. And we just look at Roman just a little pissed off. Now, first off, bravo, this was fucking great. Can we get a Roman Reigns shirt with, you had like some kind of chain of command or something shirt? That would be fucking great. Second, can they just name Adam Pearce the GM of Raw and SmackDown? He's a producer, we know that. But the guy's making matches over and over. Make this guy the permanent GM because that's what you're doing already. Just give him that title because that people are more used to a GM. Survivor Series qualifying match, King Corbin. I'm sorry. Baron Corbin versus Rey Mysterio. So, Corbin comes out. He's all proud of himself. Rey Mysterio comes out next in sweatpants, a t-shirt, and his mask, of course, and a sweat and one of those sweat jackets. He's definitely rocking the dad get up tonight. All he's missing is that dad bod. So Rey Mysterio charges Corbin, nails a spine buster in the middle of the ring. Rey hangs on, but in the match, but Corbin begins to dominate. Halfway through this match, Seth Rollins comes out to cheer on Baron Corbin. So, towards the end of the match, Rey Mysterio gets a 619 up onto Corbin. Seth Rollins attacks Dominic. Rey Mysterio goes out, kicks him away. All of a sudden, out comes Murphy and Aaliyah, who is dressed way too up. She's got one of the, I don't want to use this word. She pretty much looks like she's out for a hot date. It's like Dominic is dressed casually. Rey Mysterio is dressed casually because he wasn't able to get his gear on. Even Murphy is dressed like he's just going out to hang out with some friends or something. She's in a fucking very thin dress that does not leave much to the imagination. I'm just gonna say that. Just saying it. They're really making her look a little, I don't want to go that word, hookerish, I want to say. Just saying, I mean, of course, Rey Mysterio sees it and says, what are you doing out here? She's like, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to come and help. But he says, get Dominic out of get Murphy out of here. Rey Mysterio goes back in the ring, and Baron Corbin hits one of the worst end of days I think I have ever seen him hit. I don't know what happened here. Rey Mysterio wasn't ready or something, but that was very painful looking. It didn't look like that was done right at all. Corbin wins, and that was that. So, let's see here. Aaliyah and Murphy look as Rollins recovers at the bottom of the ramp, smirking at Ray, who gets still down in the ring. Grace has some breaking news as Jey Uso will take on Kevin Owens in the main event. And we get a Higher Heroes promo with Lacey Evans. Who really cares? I don't. Survivor Series qualifying match, Ruby Riott versus Zelina Vega versus Natalya in a triple threat match. And I was thinking to myself, like, wait a minute. Natalya was in last week's triple threat match. And apparently she went to Adam Pearce. And because she didn't get pinned last week or submit last week, she feels like she should still get a chance to go to Survivor Series. So it's either A, she's winning this match, or B, Natalya is going to fail again, go to next week, complain again, because the way the match ends, get put in another qualifying match, fail again, and she's going to keep complaining until she gets on the team. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened tonight. The match was not worth much. I mean, Zelina Vega's okay. Zelina Vega needs more time as a talent. She's decent, but my God, she needs more time. So basically, the match comes down to this, is that Natalya puts the sharpshooter on Vega, and Ruby Riott comes in before Vega gets out. Ruby Riott comes in, puts her in a very bad crossface, because there's really not much room. So Natalya stupidly releases the the sharpshooter. As she does that, that gives Ruby Riott the chance to wrench back and pull back Zelina Vega. So as soon as she gets off of the sharpshooter, Zelina Vega taps out to Ruby Riott, and Ruby Riott moves on to Survivor Series. Natalya misses out on Survivor Series once again. What do you want to bet that next week in the Survivor Series qualifying triple threat match, they have to do more than one next week because there's only 2 weeks left and they need 3 spots. But what you want to bet? Natalya will be in the next qualifying match, get screwed again, and then she'll do the same thing on the go-home show. And this time, she'll make it into Survivor Series after chance after chance after chance after chance. I'm just saying. I mean, that's typical WWE for you. They got nothing, so let's do this instead. Natalya's furious, seeing what happened, how Riott won the match, which I gotta say, it was a very interesting way to have Ruby Riott win. I will give them props on that. It's the fact that they're both in the submission. Natalya's like, what the fuck, gets up, and the next thing you know, before she even gets to turn around, Zelina Vega was tapping out to Ruby Riott. Very, very smart on Ruby Riott. Don't let go. I think the problem with last week and why whoever, I don't remember if it was Bianca Belair or Billie Kay, because they did the same spot last week and both women let go. I think it was either both women let go or Natalya was faster and kicked off her the other one. Oh, Biggie. Hey, do you remember that Biggie was left on SmackDown because WWE wanted to give him a singles push? So, he's backstage on the floor playing Trivial Pursuit for money against a staffer, a no-name female staffer. Just, this guy, we all want to see get a chance to be in the World Heavyweight Championship picture or the Universal Championship picture. And you have him sitting on the floor playing Trivial Pursuit for cash. This guy, there were two, and I don't want to go this route, but there were 2 men who are of a different color than white, not want to go anywhere else, who are getting pushes, or supposed to be getting pushes in WWE right now. One is Big E. One is Jey Uso. Big E, going into this year, for the last 4 or 5 years or so, or 3 or 4 years, everybody who is anybody says Big E needs to get away from the New Day, and Big E needs to get, he needs to have that breakout moment, have that singles push that we all want to see. He's gotten that singles push. It's gone nowhere. Yes, he had that brutal Falls Count Anywhere match against Sheamus, but that's it. Jey Uso, on the other hand, has shown that he can adapt, he can improve, he can be that main event level talent. He is a Samoan, for fuck's sakes. He's good. It's in his fucking blood. His acting skills are great. His in-ring work as a single star has been great. This whole thing with his cousin is great. Could I clearly see Jey Uso being... If I had to pick between Jey Uso right now and Big E for World Heavyweight Championship run, a title run, I'm going Jey Uso. He's shown and has been shown in that light that if they wanted to drop the strap to him and give him the strap for like a month, he can handle it. Big E's off joking around being Mr. New Day still. He's sitting around in a Leatherface ugly sweater playing Trivial Pursuit for cash with a no-name staffer. The Street Profits come in saying Big E rocks and doing all that shit. When they joke around with him, they have a big old laugh. They goof around, and it's like, this guy is supposed to be this guy that they want to push. They want to give a shot at the world title eventually. A lot of people are wondering, who's Roman Reigns going to face at WrestleMania besides The Rock? People are saying Big E. They want to see Big E get that title shot, that moment at WrestleMania where he beats the Unstoppable Force in Roman Reigns. And I'm saying no. No. It's pathetic. They've taken whatever chance of Big E being a big major star and have killed it. He's done. I don't even give a shit what they did with Big E. It's going to take a lot to get Big E to where it looks like he should be a champion or in the championship contenders. Jey Uso, on the other hand, has been showing you week in and week out how you go from being a tag team specialist to a single star. And his cousin has been helping him the whole way. Paul Heyman's there. This guy, if they wanted to put Jimmy Uso on Raw and keep Jey Uso on SmackDown and give this guy a title run, I'm all for it. He is just showing you week in and week out how to be on that next level. He's getting to that next level, and he's going to keep going. How long is it going to go? How long is this family thing going to go on? Hell if I should know. Maybe it lasts till WrestleMania. Maybe he gets another shot at WrestleMania and he topples his cousin at WrestleMania. Hell, maybe he wins the Royal Rumble. Could you imagine Jey Uso in 2021 wins the Royal Rumble? I'm not saying it's probably ever going to happen, but hell, that would be one hell of a surprise, and it would just show WWE's faith in Jey Uso. I'm just saying. So Big E is an absolute disappointment with everything they're doing with him right now. Survivor Series qualifying match, Otis versus Seth Rollins. Now, I'm going to say this about Otis. Of all the people to get new theme music, Otis got the one theme music that actually fits him. Aleister Black's needs a little bit of improvement maybe, but it does seem to fit him too. But this is it's a country theme. It matches his gimmick. He's the working man now. It's blue collar solid working man Otis. It even says it on his stage, working man Otis. This guy. Wrestling Inc. also tweeted this out that it just feels like Vince McMahon has given up on Otis. And I replied back, Vince McMahon had no plan for Otis from the start. Otis peaked at WrestleMania. Otis should have never won the Money in the Bank briefcase. It was only done for shock value. Oh, Otis is in the match. He's never going to be champion. Holy shit, he won the Money in the Bank briefcase. What are they going to do with him? They had no plans whatsoever. Nothing they were going to do was ever going to be Otis winning the Universal Championship or going to Ron winning the WWE Championship. Never. Yes, COVID got in the way. Maybe he would have lost this a lot sooner. Maybe they should have did what I was wanting them to do and have Andy turn on him, costing him the championship, turning her back to the heel that she was really good at. But no, they shipped her off to Raw. She's teaming with Dana Brooke. And her spray tan needs to be brought down a couple levels. Anyway, so this match happens. Seth Rollins comes out. Otis is out there too. Murphy eventually comes down, but Aaliyah's not with him. Aaliyah is backstage with her dad and her brother watching. Murphy stands at the end of the ramp, just watching the match. Watching this match go down. And these two have a decent match. And then, as Otis is about to go for the caterpillar, he gets on the apron, staring down Rollins and distracting everyone. Otis charges at Murphy, but Murphy drops from the apron to the floor. Rollins takes advantage, rocks Otis, and follows up with a big stomp for the pin and the win. And he stands tall. He looks at Murphy, and Murphy turns to walk away. Ray and Dominic are shown reacting with anger in the back. Aaliyah looks confused or disappointed. I think it's both. I think it's kind of both. Rollins watches Murphy walk straight to the back as we go to the break. So yeah, anybody thinking that Vince McMahon gave up on Otis, I'm going to tell you right now, Vince McMahon never had any plan for Otis. The big thing for Otis in 2020 was the story with Mandy Rose, getting the girl. That was it. It's a damn shame because that moment is not going to be brought back up in history because there was nobody there. This is months before they even do the Thunderdome. They had nothing. No audio, no fans, no nothing. That moment was supposed to be a big moment for Otis and Mandy Rose. And it was in front of nobody. And it sucks. But that was Otis's peak as a singles talent. Him winning Money in the Bank was a fucking mistake. They had no desire for him. They had no fucking plan for this guy. From the moment he won Money in the Bank to the moment he lost it, they had no plan. He was never going to challenge Braun Strowman, Fiend, or Roman Reigns. He was never going to challenge Drew McIntyre. He was only a placeholder on that briefcase. Should they have given it to The Miz? Probably not. AJ Styles, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, Baron Corbin all could have won that. But they gave it to Otis. Why? Because Vince McMahon just wanted to give everybody something to talk about the next day. That is it. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. Back for break, and Seth Rollins catches up with Murphy backstage, saying he knows what he saw and he thinks he knows what he saw. Rollins tells Murphy to confirm he knows what he saw. He points to Rollins and says, Messiah, and then points to himself, says, disciple. Rollins is absolutely ecstatic. He's like, oh, yes, say it again, please, say it again. He does it again. Messiah, disciple. He's elated, he's happy. He's like, welcome home. And he walks away. Aaliyah comes in and is like, what the hell was that? I went to my family, I defended you, what the hell was that? Murphy grabs her hands and says, you have to trust me. This is for the greater good. And that's when you know that Seth Rollins is either a fool or Murphy is just a genius. Because he's only playing like he's happy to be back with Seth Rollins. I don't know how long they're going to play this, how much of a long game this is going to be between Murphy and Seth Rollins. I think it's going to be till after Survivor Series. They're going to have their match at TLC. But Seth Rollins is going to have, let's just say, Murphy is a mole in Seth Rollins' game. He's a mole for Aaliyah and the Mysterio family. He's going to sabotage Seth Rollins from the inside out. At least that might be what that is. Maybe he can corrupt Aaliyah, turn her heel, and align her with Seth Rollins and Murphy. That's the thing we have to wait and see. Do I really care about this feud? Hell no, I want it to be over. This is one of those things that I just don't care. Wow. But you can just see it must be those Aussie eyes that she fucking loves, because as soon as he looks at her eye to eye, she honestly looks like she's just melting in front of him. Like she melts into his eyes or something, because she's just going from anger and disappointment and wanting to just rip him a new one to just cool, calm, and quiet. I don't know what it is. It must be those Aussie eyes. Michael Cole sends us to a new sit-down interview with shirtless Lars Sullivan. I don't really care. They humanized him last week, which was a fucking mistake. And now he's like, oh, I hate bullies. I was bullied, and I got bigger. Then I bullied the bullies. Then I bullied the kids who stood by, and let it happen. Then I yelled like a big monster, and now I'm supposed to be this big, huge monster, and I don't give a shit. That's bullying. He loves it. He laughs again in the interview. Who gives a shit? They killed Lars Sullivan last week. This is supposed to be a huge monster. The Freak, who's going to go out there, freak accident after freak accident after freak accident after freak accident, just mowing them all down. Pretty much, I guess, building up to a match with Braun Strowman at some time, which right now I really don't care about. I don't think anyone else is going to care about. The one problem with Lars Sullivan is all of his activities outside of WWE and outside of the business. All of his transgressions on the internet, Twitter, Instagram, all these other, these message boards from back in the day. A lot of people do not like Lars Sullivan in the IWC or YWC. They just don't. Lars Sullivan has dug his grave, and a lot of people don't really care to see Lars Sullivan. He's not as hated as much as the Velveteen Dream, but it's up there. Nobody wants to see Lars Sullivan get a push. And this, in my opinion, is not going to help him at all. Just let the Freak be the fucking Freak. It's not that hard. So, we go to Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens. Of course, this was set up earlier in the show because Jey Uso was getting some coffee for himself, and Kevin Owens came up, made a couple of jokes, and of course he took offense to it. Roman took offense to it, and here you go. I gotta say, Jey Uso's attitude has been great. The demeanor he's had, the way he's been acting to everybody, the way he's been acting on TV, just the anger he has in his face, it has been great. This was a good match. Kevin Owens is awesome. Jey Uso is getting better and better every single week. He has been proving that you don't, just because you're a twin and your brother is Jimmy Uso, or you have a brother and you guys are twins and you're both a tag team, that you can't break out and be a single star. I'm now waiting for them to do Jey versus Jimmy Uso in a whatever, one of those matches that they're going to have. You know what's going to happen. Jimmy's going to come back. He's not going to be happy that his brother decided to align with Roman Reigns. And they're going to have a match either at the Royal Rumble or TLC or the Elimination Chamber. It's going to happen. What happens between now and then is only guesswork. So, yeah. Jey Uso, Kevin Owens beats the hell out of Jey Uso in the beginning of this match. Majority of this match, it's like Jey Uso is getting his ass kicked. He does get some moves in. Roman gets Paul Heyman's in the back, watching with Roman. Roman sends Paul Heyman away, gets his title, and walks off. He watches from the back while Paul Heyman moves off. He comes down to the ring later on, distracting Kevin Owens for a minute. Jey Uso gets back into it. Now, we get to the end of the show, or the end of the match, and Roman's music hits. Kevin Owens looks like he's got this match in hand. And the Roman's music hits, he's not coming out, but Jey takes advantage while everyone seems to be distracted, headbutts Kevin Owens in the groin, hits him with the super kick, big Uso splash, 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens loses to Jey Uso, and that's how that ends. Jey walks down, gives a hand slap. Him and Paul Heyman slap hands. Roman comes out. They have a little bit of a moment on the stage, and the show goes off the air with the family, the Samoan bloodline, getting in better spirits, even though Roman is still pissed off at what Kevin Owens had to say, as the show goes off the air. Was this a good episode of SmackDown? Yes. Do we need to get Lars Sullivan off of TV? Yes. Get this big boy off of my TV. Nobody wants to see Lars Sullivan on TV. I know I don't. I know you don't. Everyone wants to see Lars Sullivan gone. Now, Bayley and Sasha Banks, fire. Carmella versus Sasha is not going to be close to the same. I guess it's fine. I mean, they have to do something else because Bayley and Sasha Banks do need a break. Honestly, in my opinion, Bayley should be off till after Survivor Series. Give this woman a little bit of a vacation. She's worked her ass off. Her and Sasha Banks have held SmackDown down since March. Since this show went to no fans, they held this show together. They were the reason people were watching SmackDown. Fiend and Alexa Bliss did stuff for helped a little bit too while they were on SmackDown. Then Roman Reigns came back and was the man we needed from the start. But give Bayley some time off. She deserves it. She's earned it. Give her 3 weeks. She doesn't need to be seen till after Survivor Series. Hell, she doesn't need to be seen now till the feud with Carmella's over. Honestly, she doesn't need to be. She could take the rest of the year off, in my opinion, and come back for the Royal Rumble. Pissed off, more angry, wanting that women's championship. She goes into the Women's Royal Rumble and wins it. That's just me. But Roman Reigns is the fucking man on SmackDown. And yes, just like me saying Alexa Bliss is the best thing on Raw right now, I would have never said that a year ago. I say it now because it's fucking true, because there's nothing else on Monday Night Raw worth a damn. That's the sad part. But Roman Reigns, this is the Roman Reigns we needed years ago. This is the Roman Reigns we needed when the Shield broke up. This was the Roman Reigns we needed after he beat The Undertaker. When he beat The Undertaker and he came out the next night with everybody booing him. And he stood there, didn't have to say a fucking word. And all he did was point to his hand and without on the mic coming up, says, I have them in the palm of my hand. This was the Roman Reigns we needed. This guy can't be... I mean, eventually he'll turn babyface again and be one of the best babyfaces they have. But he would have earned the babyface role, and he would earn people's respect, and he will earn what WWE... They did with Roman Reigns what they would never do with John Cena. And it was the right thing to do. How long he stays heel? No idea. It's got to at least be a year. As long as the Samoan bloodline still goes on, he needs to be a heel. He's the head of the table. He's the tribal chief. He is the best. Like, on the male side of things, he's the best damn thing on SmackDown. Him and Jey Uso are the best damn thing on SmackDown. On the women's side, it's Bayley and Sasha Banks, and it has been all year. SmackDown's got a lot more going for it. It is the absolute A show. WWE, it's funny, before COVID hit, and when they got to Fox last year, WWE tried desperately to make SmackDown the A show with a babyface Roman Reigns, with the terrible feud with Baron Corbin. How well did that work out for him? It didn't. It was terrible. Remember dog food being thrown all over Roman Reigns, over Baron Corbin at the end of that, with the Usos and Roman Reigns smiling and posing. This is the guy we needed last year. This guy helps make the show the A show. This is the best they can do, and I am loving everything Roman Reigns does. And you want to know why? I have my YouTube channel. I have my YouTube app open up on my Nintendo Switch on my TV right now. We have a couple of videos up here. We have one for a Mandalorian review, and then the very next video is from the promo with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And who is that right behind Roman Reigns? It's Paul Heyman. This feud, this entire storyline with Roman Reigns has Paul Heyman fingers all over it. Paul Heyman, Roman, Jey. If that's the only ones booking this thing, that's who it needs to be. The men need to go out there and be themselves. And that's what it feels like we're getting with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Like people have said, like Wrestling Inc., I have to quote them again, said Jey Uso is the main eventer for 2020 that we didn't know we needed. And we have right now. And he's doing a fantastic job. But that is your SmackDown review. Pretty good show. Again, Lars Sullivan, can we cut that shit out? If we cut the fat out of that, cut the Rey Mysterio bullshit out, you have yourself a great show. But that is your SmackDown review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys tomorrow night for AEW Full Gear 2020. 1,000 fans in attendance. Can't wait to see what they have coming for us. Till then, my name is France, and I'll see you guys later.